Everybody sees it?
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yes.
Wonderful. Okay, so we also have on Facebook people that are joining us. That's wonderful. Who is there joining us? We have Eugenia from Calgary, Alice from Baltimore. Wonderful. Sina. Hey. So we're going to continue today with a very, could be even a sensitive topic. It could be a difficult topic for some people, and that is arba bonim. Now, the translation you might see over here is for children. The literal translation is for sons. So you'll see some Hagadahs will have a translation for sons, and some will say for children. Specifically, it would be really for sons. Why is it only for sons, not for daughters? Why is it for children? Is it, because the word banim in Hebrew is sons, banot is daughters. So that's a good question, and perhaps we can discuss that a bit later. But let's get into the meat of the topic in the Haggadah itself, okay? So before we actually get into before we even get into the four children, or for whatever you want to call them children if you'd like. So there is a preface to it, and that is, it says, Baruch HaMakom, blessed is the omnipresent one. So we're blessing God, calling him the omnipresent one. Blessed be he. Blessed is he who gave the Torah to his people Israel. Blessed be he. The Torah speaks of four children. One who is wise, one who is wicked, one who is simple, and one who does not know how to ask. So let's dissect this a bit and get a little deeper understanding, deeper appreciation of what these words mean. So first of all, we're blessing God that he's omnipresent. What does that mean? Meaning he's all-pervading. God's presence is all-pervading, right? That is a sense of God's presence over everything and everything, right? There's no, what's the word? There's nothing special, nothing unique. God encompasses everything. But then we speak about God, blessed that he is, that he gave us the Torah, right? Meaning he gave Torah to his people Israel, and so meaning now he's speaking to us as a people, all inclusive, wish you could say, but then that the Torah speaks to for children. So what is the point over here? One who is wise, one who is wicked, one who is simple, one who doesn't know how to ask, right? The nuance over here that's very important is now it becomes even more personalized. The omnipresent that is encompassing all of creation, that the God who's omnipresent, God who is the one who gives us Torah, also gives it to each and every single one of us individually. He gives it to one who is wise, but not just to the wise. He gives it to one who is wicked, one who is simple, one who doesn't know how to ask. Meaning that all of us have a portion in it. All of us have a portion of Torah. And we're blessing God for that. And we're thanking God for that. Now you might ask a question. Well, sounds good. Sounds good that God, is giving to everyone, every one of us individually, our portion. To the wise one, the wicked one, simple one doesn't know how to ask. However, why? If someone is wicked or au contraire, what does that mean to say that, they have their portion or that God gave them Torah? What do you mean? As we're going to learn, the wicked one is even denying their connection. So if they're denying their connection, what does it mean that God's giving it to them? So with that, we can answer very simply, if we're against the nuance in this paragraph, is one who is wise, one is wicked, one is simple, one doesn't know how to ask. Should have stated that, the Torah speaks to 4 children: wise, wicked, simple, and not one who doesn't know how to ask. Why does it say one is wise, one is wicked? It sounds poetic, it sounds nice, but is that really what it is? Is it poetry? No. Echad chacham, one is wise. Echad, one is wicked, is to tell us that each and every single one of them have the echad, the oneness of God in them. Even if a person is au contraire, even a person is distant in their ways, simple or whatever, the oneness of God is there, and therefore Torah speaks to them. Torah relates to them. So that's on the outset what we need to know. That for children, 4 sons, whatever you want to call it, God is encompassing all of creation. He specifically gives to his people the Torah, but more specifically, he gives it not just to the wise one, not just to even the au contraire, the one who is off the path, the one who is the wicked. So, translated as wicked, because the word Russia would be wicked, right? It might not be so PC, but so it is the term. But that brings out the greatness over here. That wicked one, that one who is distant, has the oneness of God equally as the one who is wise. And therefore, it speaks to them just the same. Is that clear?
We're all created in the image of God, so everyone should be included, right?
Well, no, because the Torah was given to the Jewish people, right? It wasn't given to all nations. It was just given to the Jewish people, right? We're thanking, first we're blessing God that he incorporates all of creation. He's omnipresent. He encompasses everything. He's the reality. God's the reality of everything. He's the only true reality, right? But then that's like, that's might be kind of distant in a way. But then we're speaking more personal, collectively as a people, that God now gave us something specific that makes us who we are as a Jewish nation. He gave us the Torah. But then it's speaking more specifically that we're blessing and thanking for what we have, that whoever we are amongst the people, amongst the Jewish people, we have been given this gift. Even if you are off the path, then it doesn't mean anything to you. Even if you are au contraire in all of your ways, yet you need to know it was given to you as a Jew. Now, why? So that's what we said, because of the echad, the oneness that resides in no matter who the Jew is. What makes you a Jew is not because you're a wise person, not because you are an observant person. It's because you have the echad, the oneness of God as a Jew in you, a Jewish soul that defines you as a Jew. And therefore, it speaks to you specifically. Okay, is that clear, Lily? Wonderful. We have on Clubhouse, we have Yigal, Beryl, David, Rabbi Yisrael. Anybody has something to share on that point, please do. Now, there's a commonality between these 4 children or 4 sons, again, however, you want to call it. There's a commonality of them. Does anybody know what the commonality between the 4 of them, besides the echad that we just explained, the oneness that they have, the Jewish spark that they all equally have? There's no distinction, but there's another commonality in their actions. And you know what that is?
They all came.
Oh, they all came to the Pesach Seder. They're all there. One is coming to be inspired. One is coming to perspire, to make others perspire with difficult questions. One is there, waiting for the hockey game to come on, and one is there and doesn't know why he's there or she's there, right? But they're all there. And as our dear Rebbe spoke about what's called the fifth child is the one who doesn't show up. And we have to make sure that there isn't a fifth child, that there isn't a fifth Jewish child amongst the Jewish people, that whoever and wherever there is someone that needs a Pesach Seder, we have to reach out to them, of course, before Pesach, not while we're doing the 4 sons over here, 4 children, but beforehand, to make sure that there is not an empty chair by your place. It used to be back in the day, people had an empty chair for the Russian Jew who could not participate. So you had an empty chair to remember the Russian Jew who was, in communist times, who didn't have the opportunity to make a Pesach Seder. So you had a chair for them. Fill the chair. Don't have an empty chair to remember somebody. Fill the chair. We need to have every Jew at a Pesach Seder. Okay? Is that clear? Now, you could ask another question. And by the way, I'm open up to questions over here, so please don't be bashful, folks. On Facebook, you can ask questions. On Zoom, you can ask questions. On Clubhouse, you can ask questions. Ask. Okay. And you might say, like, why are we being judgmental over here? Like today, what do you mean that there's a like, imagine you're sitting at your table, and you say, oh, this is my wise son, and this is my wicked one, this is my simple one, and this one doesn't know how to. It does not sound.
We did that. We did that. We did that at table. We did that.
You did that at your table. Oh my gosh. What happened to the wicked son? Did he walk away? The simples, the one who doesn't, they walk away. Oh my gosh. Well, I can't say I ever did that. Never did that. But like, oh my God. I don't even want to know what kind of, conclusion that came to. Yeah, that was some trip. All right. That was a lovely trip. On a trip. So, but it seems very judgmental. Wait, calling this one a wise, this one a wicked, this one, So several answers. One is actually, we're not even talking about anybody but ourselves. Because sometimes we're wise, sometimes we're wicked, and sometimes we're simple, and sometimes we don't know how to ask. So we're not even pointing a finger at anybody else but ourselves. We kind of vacillate between different kind of, different ways, right? Oh, okay. Rafael, you want to add something to this?
Just to that last point you made, just to sort of support it.
Sure.
Sometimes we are all for, but over different subject matters.
Right.
Meaning, so for example, think about Pesach. For some people, they want to hear midrashim and they're excited about some different medrash about how something happened. So then when it comes to that point, so they're like the chacham about the medrash. But then when you get into a halachic discussion, they're like, who cares, or, what difference does it make? Meaning their interest isn't there and they figure that's for others.
Right.
So, and might for some things, they might be a tom, like I'm saying, all about the same Seder.
Exactly.
Something is going on and they simply don't care. And they're like, oh, what's that?
Right.
Because it doesn't interest them, but they're just curious to know, something in general. And then there are some things, and this is not just for Jews who are not familiar, even, from birth and all the rest of it, where there are some things that might be happening and they don't even care to ask one way or the other. So meaning, depending on the topic, depending on the time of day, their curiosity levels, increase or decrease over the quality or quantity of the information. So it's all talking about the same person in that respect. I'm just giving
right.
what you said, but I'm saying about it as at a single Seder, you can have that with one person who has all four states of mind at the Seder.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. Very real and very true. Yeah. Very, very nice. Thank you. That was beautiful. Yeah, again, so the bottom line is it can be speaking about us, and it is speaking about us, right? At the same Seder, because we're sitting at the same person at the same Seder, but in different attitudes and different states of mind at the Seder. So well said. Thank you for sharing that, Rabbi Phil. That's a beautiful idea. But let's say, traditionally, I want to be a little transparent. Traditionally, that's not the explanation. The explanation is four different, children. That's how the simple understanding is. So again, if that's the case, what kind of judgment are we making? Is that a healthy thing that we're doing? So, I would definitely suggest that you don't point a finger to any of your children at the Seder and, you're this and you're that, oh, you're the wise one, so could you please read it? And you're this one, could you please read that one? Don't do that. For sure not. That won't go over well, and it's not an appropriate thing. But in general, how is it that we're making a judgment between, the wise and the wicked and the simple one who does not ask? So this is an important point. In Western civilization, we have come to a place that, you can't make any judgment on anything, and that is not appropriate. You should not make a judgment on the person, but you can make a judgment on their actions. In other words, if this action is a wicked action, sometimes the person needs to be called out on it, whether they need to or not. But the judgment that we need to know that that's wrong. That's wrong. We need to make that judgment. Now, if that person is wrong, it still doesn't take away from the previous paragraph. What is it? I mean, this paragraph actually that we're talking about, that they still have the oneness of God in them. They may be acting au contraire. They may be really, spiteful and negative, but yet resides in them the oneness of God. So who they are, you don't judge. What they might do, that is something that is open for, for judgment. And we need to make judgments in life, when someone is acting inappropriately or someone is acting appropriately. But to label them as this is who and what you are, and this is what defines you, that kind of judgment, God forbid. And that's why it says again, one, echad, chacham, echad, rasha. One, meaning they have the oneness in God in them. That's what it in the wise child, just the same as it is in the au contraire wicked child. No distinction. When you are going to love your child, without any strings attached, not because they're smart, not because they, they became a doctor, not because they became, with the Nebuch, my child, not only did he isn't a doctor and not even became a lawyer. Oh, my child, he became a rabbi. Okay, still gotta love him, right? Still gotta love. Why? Because there's the echad. There's the Jewishness is there not because of their actions, and therefore on that level, yes, there is something that could be a judgment be made. Is that clear? Any questions on that? Any comments? Anybody want to share on in Clubhouse? David.
Hello, can you guys hear me?
Sure, absolutely. Please share.
Thanks for running the room. I think the title is surprisingly not. It was I found it to be very clickbaity in a good way. I like the title. Four Sons is kind of like a top draw to Passover.
Right.
I have been I've been asking questions. Not four sons, but four questions for most of my life, and I feel like an amalgam of the sons, particularly the fifth one, which is not a good thing. And so I'm happy that you said we shouldn't have that. But my question / thing I wanted to get your attention on is this idea that or this prescription that the angry, like I always thought that it was like a huge punch that the angry son who may be having a bad day, the prescription for him is, if you were in Israel, you'd be dead, not saved. Thank you very much. Any thoughts on the harshness of that?
Oh, absolutely. Thank you for the question. I was going to pose it. I was going to pose the question, and thank you for preempting me. But you know what? Do you mind, David? I want to just go and I just want to go in the order of things. So before we get to the angry wicked, as it translated as wicked, right? And that word is a harsh term, maybe. The au contraire son or child. Can we go to the wise one? And the truth is, I hope we'll have enough time to deal with everything today. Are you okay with that?
I'm okay with anything. Thank you for. I'm just happy to be here.
Okay. Okay. Great. Okay. So let's go to the wise son. So in Hebrew, it's Chacham Mahu Omer. Chacham, the wise one. What does he say? So in Hebrew, it's an interesting phrase. Chacham Mahu Omer. Wise person. What is a wise person? What they say. Now there's an alluded message over here. How do you know if someone is wise or someone is just a fool? Listen to what they say. Now, don't listen to what they say, 9 to 5 when they're working and they have no choice to, if they're an engineer and they're, doing difficult tasks as an engineer, that won't be an indication of are they really, have wisdom of life, or they just, have foolishness of life. That won't be the indication. On your free time, like those who come to Clubhouse, those who come on Facebook to learn, right? On your free time, what is your conversation about? What you talk about is an indication about you, who you are. So, there's 3 things you can talk about. You can talk about people, you can talk about events, or you can talk about ideas. And if all else fails, by the way, you know what else you can talk about? The weather, right? Or in our day and age, what else do you talk about? COVID, So people talk about people, that's a little shallow. People who talk about even events, I went here and I did that, is a little more elevated, but also not of the wisest conversation. But when you talk about ideas, right, then that is an indication of a wisdom of an individual. So Chacham Mahu, how do you know if someone is wise? What is Mahu? What is he? What is she? Oimer, what they say, what they converse about. That brings out an indicator of what kind of person this is, right? So, okay, that's just an interesting aside. So, the wise one, what does he say? What are these testimonies, the statutes, and the laws which the Lord our God has commanded you? It's asking a question, right? Each one's asking a question because this is the nature of the Seder night, as we call it here in Canada, Seder night in Canada. So asking, what are the laws? Which is a kind of funny question. What do you mean, what are the laws? If you're a wise person, wouldn't you know what the laws are? The laws of the holiday? No, if you're a wise person, you've studied them. You have wisdom of Torah. So that we need to understand. So what do we respond to the person? You, in turn, shall instruct him in the laws of Passover, up to one may not, is not to eat any dessert after the Passover lamb. So you teach them the laws, but then that kind of further makes the difficulty in how are we calling this person wise? You're coming to Passover, you should be familiar with the laws of Passover. You need to know how to celebrate the holiday, so you need to be familiar. Why is he asking these questions? And what exactly then is the response? Question clear? Yeah? So the answer is like this. This is actually a very deep philosophical point that the wise child is asking. Hey, what's Judaism all about ultimately? It's about doing what God wants of us. This is what he says. It's about giving yourself over. In life, there's either one of two things. Either we are here to serve or we want to be served. Most people lead their lives, and sometimes we might even hear, we're coming to learn, we might lead our lives very simply because I want to be served. I don't mean, what does it mean to be served? It means, I really like you because you serve me well. How? You lift up my spirits every time I'm in your presence. You make me a better person. So you serve me well, right? So in other words, and I'm bringing out in a very refined way, even, that's even a positive thing. Or I'm here to serve. I'm here to serve that which is greater than me, ultimately God, by serving my family, by serving my community, by serving my people, by serving all of humanity ultimately, right? So the Chacham is saying like this: if ultimately we are just here to serve, and we are here to serve in a way that is, we're serving God, ultimately, that's the highest level. Serving your family is wonderful, and a needed recipe for today's world that we live in. But what's even greater than that? And that'll be a discussion maybe another time. Why so? Is I'm here to serve God. God, whatever you need from me, I'm here for you. And if we can say that to our loved ones, whatever you need from me, I'm here for you. Now, of course, I'm not doing something that you're not allowed to do, but whatever it is that you need from me, that's a real devotion. That's really selfless. And this is what the Chacham is asking. I don't understand. Isn't just Judaism here to serve God in a super rational way, supra-rational? Just give yourself over, and that's all that counts. Why are we making a distinction between testimony, statutes, and laws? Let me explain more deeply what the question is. Why are we making a distinction that there are some things that are called testimonies? Those things are like Shabbos and holidays. Like Passover is a testimony. It is a what's the word I'm looking for? It's a commemorative event of something that happened historically that we engage in, like Passover. That's called testimonies. They testify to our relationship with God and to our history. To our history. Then you have statutes. Statutes are like the laws of red heifer, the laws of purifying those who come in contact with death, in order that they can serve in the holy times of the holy temple. Or today, like shatnez, which is a mixture of wool and linen. It doesn't make sense. It's a law that is beyond logic. And then finally, we have laws like torts and damages, right? Someone ruins someone else's property, or someone, you are a custodian of someone's property, and you were, you were negligent, and therefore it got damaged. You go to court. What's the law, right? So those are three, and that area is, of course, based on reason and logic. So you say, why do we have all these three areas when ultimately, really, it's about just serving, just being there for what God needs of me, beyond logic, beyond reason, whatever it is, just like you would, a parent is there for their child, whatever the child needs from you, right? That doesn't mean because they cry for it, they need it. They might be crying for something that they're trying to, take advantage of you, right? And manipulate. But whatever's needed, you're there unconditionally. So we're there unconditional for God, whatever you need from us. Why the distinctions? Why are you bringing in about the laws that have a human component to it, of intelligence, of reason? That's his question. That's a powerful question. So it's not that he doesn't know the laws of the holiday. He knows the laws. And he's, going to fulfill them. He's questioning, why are we making distinctions in the law? And it should be all about divine service, giving ourselves over totally. That's what it should be about. That's what it's all about. That's a good question. Anybody have the answer? Anybody want to stab a try at the answer? Remember Foyle. Rabbi Bernath is with us in Clubhouse. Anybody want to try something on this? Or should I go ahead on?
Fine. Hello.
Yes.
I just have a critical point, a critical misty question in this rate. I guess when we pray in Seder about thanking God to get out of the land of Egypt, land of slavery, and when I look nowadays, when we the Jewish people can do so much in this Egyptian land and can control so much by their authorities.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of confusing. It's so confused me. It's confused me. If we can prevail the Egyptian land nowadays, or it's kind of prevention from the law, or it will be a kind of sort of breaking laws.
Okay, got you. So actually, that was Tarek who was speaking from, guess where? Egypt. He's in Egypt, and he's speaking from Egypt. Thank you for joining. So let me mull that over, and we'll get back to it. Let us continue with this thought, and maybe we'll try to connect the thoughts together. Okay. So
I have so many opportunities.
Tarek, we're just want to finish this thought, and then we can come back. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you for your understanding. So what we want to understand, the wise child is asking, in life, there's only two things: to be served or to serve. That's the perspective of the wise child. And the wise child says, hey, I know what it's all about. I'm not here to be served. I'm not here that it's all about me. I'm here to make it ultimately all about you. How? That's what it means to serve God. That's what the service of God is ultimately. And therefore, that's something, when you think about it, that is not only is divine, but it's not so human. The human condition is I want to be served. Now, I'll love you because how you serve me and how much good you do for me. That's wonderful, right? But the wise son says, no. Ultimately, it's about serving. And therefore, why are we making distinctions about human understanding of laws that we can understand with our human minds and so on? So what's the answer? The answer is divine does not mean to exclude the human. To be divine, to be wise, means to incorporate the human condition. What is the basis of the human condition? What is the basis of being human? Is you have a mind and you have a heart. And that should be incorporated in something that is divine, that is beyond, that is super rational. So you want to be given over totally to service, to something that's beyond you? It needs to incorporate also that which is within you, which is your mind and your heart. And it should not be exclusive of it. You should, on the contrary, incorporate what incorporate your rational logic and your emotive feelings. That is true divine service. That's true wisdom ultimately, and that's what the wise son is lacking in and appreciating, is that in life, truth is a paradox. Paradox means two opposites that should coexist at the same time. What are the two opposites here? The two opposites is that I need to serve beyond what I am, understanding and appreciating. That's what it means ultimately, divine service. I'm here to serve. Whatever you need from me, God Almighty, I'm there. And at the same time, and what's the opposite of that? Understanding it, appreciating it, feeling it, that it feels, real. So they're like the opposite ends of the spectrum. And true being real is to be able to incorporate two opposites. Now, the starting point is, though, not my human condition. Given over to divine service is the starting point. Not my human reasoning is not my starting point. If your human reasoning is your starting point in life, and whatever I understand, I accept, whatever I feel towards, I am, devoted, that's a very slippery slope to destruction of humanity ultimately. The starting point is service beyond me. It's not about me. It's not about me. I'm there for whatever I'm needed. And at the same time, it's all about me, meaning in the sense that it's all about me, that I understand it and I feel for it. That's a very powerful lesson in life on what we need, what it means true wisdom, and how we incorporate the paradox of the two opposite ideas here. And they're not mutually exclusive, but they're distant from each other in a sense. You see some people that are very, devoted, and they're like, they run here, they run there, and, whatever it is, they're just very good. And that's wonderful. But you need to understand, and not just to do it because, you're just devoted in a super rational way, just given over in such an amazing way. You need to also incorporate it into the human dimension of the mind and the heart. It needs to come down to that level too. That is true wisdom. And that's what we respond to the Chacham, to the wise child. Any questions, any comments? I wanted to get to the next, but we're going to have to come back tomorrow and learn some more wisdom and more about the au contraire son, and how, or a child, and how that fits in. And the question that David asked earlier, that I'm sorry it didn't have the time to get to today, and it was too much. But we will get there. Anybody on Clubhouse that would like to share? And oh, okay, 1 second. Mendel, okay.
Thank you for doing this.
Oh,
see you did this already a few times.
Thank you for joining. Thank you. Appreciate it. And by the way, we're just for everybody, there might be a little disjointedness over here because we're on Facebook with several people. We're on Zoom with many people. And we are on Clubhouse with a few people.
Thank you, Rabbi Ronnie.
Thank you. And we have Tarek with us, who is in Egypt. Can you imagine? We're talking about leaving Egypt. We're going to get back to your question. We're going to get there. But before we get there, anybody else to share with us, Tarek? Thank you for your patience. All right, Ari or Yigal or Beryl, or we have on.
Ronnie, I just want to ask you, did you speak about the fifth son? Or
yes, yeah, that was at the beginning. We spoke about the fifth son. Thank you. Just a reminder about the fifth son, as we mentioned earlier, just as a reminder that there are the fifth child. The commonality between the four is not only that they have the echad, the oneness of God in them, they're completely and equally, of a Jewish soul. There's no distinction, and they get the Torah equally as God gives to them, as we praise in that phrase. But they're all sitting at the table together. They're there. They're a family. They're a Jewish family. They're connected. The fifth son, fifth child, isn't there. We have to make sure there is not a fifth child. Everybody needs to be invited. Now, the problem with COVID, of course, it's a little challenging and a little difficult now, especially here in Montreal. We're still in a red zone. We have great challenges over here, but we shall overcome, as we did last year in a miraculous manner, how the community was served by Mada and Chabad through making sure that everybody had what they needed for a Pesach Seder, even if it was a private one and alone. But we're never alone, we're always connected because we have the Echad, the oneness within us. All right, folks, we're going to share more on this, God willing. And, every day we will get through this as we get closer to Pesach. I want to thank everybody in Clubhouse. Rabbi Bernath, thank you. Do you have anything to share with us, Rabbi Bernath? I want to thank you for making things happen over in Clubhouse and connecting many people to their heritage in a way that wouldn't happen otherwise. Really appreciate. And everybody here on Zoom, our daily family over here on Zoom. It's amazing. Great to have you all. And of course, on Facebook, we also have extended family there. Our family's growing. All right. I want to bid everybody a wonderful rest of the day. Thank you all for joining.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you,
Thank
Rabbi.
you, Rabbi Fine.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank
Have a great day. Eric, have a good day.
Everyone.